Well, welcome, guys, to another episode of Millennials in Ministry. I'm really excited to be interviewing Jon Romero, who's a great spoken word artist. I came across him because I did an interview with his friend Alvin Muthoka not too long ago, and he shared his latest video called Dreams, and it just gave me chills. And I was like, I got to reach out to this guy and see if I can interview him. So, Jon, thank you for being on the show, man. I'm excited to be interviewing you.
I'm excited to be interviewed.
Yeah, for sure. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Where'd you grow up, and how did you get into doing spoken word?
Yeah, so I grew up in Orlando, Florida. I was born and raised there. And I got into spoken word in middle school when I was about 14 years old. Um,
Mhm.
I got into it just because I loved hip hop. I love rap, and me and my friends in our neighborhood, we used to hip hop battle each other. So we used to literally
Okay.
dog one another through rap, I started writing like that. I wanted I listened to a lot of like Lil Wayne and stuff, like rappers I don't listen to anymore, but
Uh,
that's kind of where I started, just trying to battle my friends and making fun of them, and uh,
yeah,
it turned into spoken word. It turned into like the glory of God, and now I do it just full time, just for however God wants to use it.
that's cool. So what's your testimony like? Have you always grown up in church, always followed God, or when did you start following Christ?
Yeah, so I got sorry. I got
There
saved
you go.
when I was 8 years old. So I came to the realization that Jesus died for my sins. He
Mhm.
resurrected, he forgave me of my sins, that even in my failures, that Jesus would be my God. At 8 years old, I realized
Wow.
I needed a savior. So at 8 years old, I made the decision. I walked my little butt up to the altar, and I gave my life to Jesus. Now, from that point on, I didn't necessarily know how to be a Christian, which is what I think a lot of
Okay.
people go through. So I was a Christian, but I didn't know how to actually walk it out. And then
Yeah.
by the time I was around 16 years old is when I had another encounter, and I had an encounter which, I think a lot of people would think I'm weird for saying this, but it was a demonic encounter, which
Mhm.
for me, I encountered something extremely dark, and that's when I realized that it was a spiritual thing, and I realized I
Mm.
had a great need for God. And
Yeah.
when I felt that great need for God, I rededicated my life to Christ. So at 16 is where I started following Christ with all my heart.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome. So I want to ask you about your creative process
yeah.
because I was telling you a little bit earlier, I've heard quite a few different spoken word artists, but truthfully, I've never encountered someone like you who performs the way you do.
Mhm.
And what sticks out to me the most about you is like your pace, the way you make eye contact with video, like the music that you choose. It's like it just gives people chills, like
Yeah.
it's incredible. And not only the performance aspect of it, but also the words you have and how
Right.
you, I don't even know, how do you write the stuff you write? Like, what's your process for that?
Yeah. I think a lot, like, for instance, if I could say dreams, like the one that you described, dreams.
Yeah,
My process with that one is, and by the way, if you haven't seen that one, the link is in my bio, so you guys can check
yeah,
that out. But my process with that is, I would literally just stay up so late at night and just dreaming, and I'm still
mhm,
doing that. I'm not anywhere near where I know I will be.
yeah,
So I think my creative process with writing that was just staying up so late and just feeling this dream of God inside my heart. Like, I knew God.
yeah,
I know God is about to do something. It doesn't matter if it's going to be in 10 years or in 15 years. I know He's going to do
yeah.
something in my lifetime. And the thought of knowing that He's about to do something, I am compelled to write something.
Wow.
I think a lot of times, here's the thing, a lot of times people have these crazy dreams, emotions, revelations, and they do nothing about it at all.
Hmm.
They literally harbor all these amazing ideas inside.
Yeah,
They go and they eat some yogurt, and they forget about it. They watch TV.
yeah,
No, I think God literally, like, for me, when God hits me with something so hard, I have to write it
mhm,
down. I have to
yeah,
process. My best way of processing is poetry. That's the best
hmm,
way I can process. If I have a moment of weakness in my life where I'm like, God, I
yeah,
feel so bad that I sinned, and I don't know where to go. I don't know how to feel. Like, God, I did you wrong. Well, God's like, well, write
mhm,
something. Go to the Word. Read the Word.
hmm,
Write it out. Say it out loud. And that's how my creative process is with most of my spoken words. It's just something that I really have gone through, and it's something that
Yeah.
has motivated me. I've been broken so many times in my life, and all I can
Mm.
do is write, and that's the best way I process it, with God. So
That's so
that
cool, man.
yeah.
You got some big fans online. Alvin's like, John is big anointed.
Oh man,
He's like, John is anointed. Man, you're really, really, truly gifted. I will definitely agree with that and co-sign those comments for sure.
thank you
Um,
guys.
uh, another question for you, John, is, what's been your favorite piece to write so far?
Man, that's a hard question. Uh, you know what's crazy? That's a really good question. I think I feel the same thing. By the time I'm done with a poem, if I'm truly done with it, it is
Yeah.
it is my favorite in that moment. So
Huh.
I wrote Dreams, that was my favorite one. When I wrote the one
Yeah.
about when I wrote the one about my father, like leaving, that was, I promise you, that was my favorite one. So
Wow.
it's literally, each one has been so favored by me. Like, I've enjoyed
Yeah.
writing each and every single one of them. I know that's a crazy
Yeah.
answer, but I just love all of them.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
hear you. I can imagine like when you put your heart into it, especially the creative process you have, if God gives you something and you choose to write it out, it's like I'm sure it feels like it's exploding inside of you, you know?
Yeah.
And so in the moment, I can totally see how that would be your favorite.
Yeah.
But tell people, where do you perform and how often do you perform? Are you connected with Carry the Love?
Yes, so Carry the Love is a college focused campaign that goes around all over United States of America. It goes to most of the college campuses, and so I'm heavily connected with circuit riders. I'm full time circuit rider now.
That's awesome.
I'll be leading two tours in the coming months, and so I'm a full time missionary at the moment. As far as
Wow.
performing, I had more places I would perform in Florida, which is where I just came from. So Florida
Hmm.
was a place I did perform. I performed at many different churches, schools, whatever the deal was. And now that I'm in California, I'm more just solely involved with circuit riders. But there is an exciting announcement. I will be opening up for Poets in Autumn here in Los Angeles,
Oh,
California.
wow.
Yeah, that's
That's awesome.
a pretty awesome deal there. And I mean,
Dude, congratulations.
yeah, I get to meet all the spoken word legends. You know what I mean? Maybe ask them some questions.
Yeah.
Just at the end of the day, just watch them and what they do, and I'm gonna be honored to even stand on the same stage with them. So I'm blessed.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, if you're ever out in Phoenix, you gotta let me know. I'll definitely come out support, grab some friends of mine, and
come
just,
on.
support what you're doing for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be awesome.
Um, One of my other favorite pieces of yours is He Knows You.
Right.
Love that piece, He Knows You. And you said something that really stuck out to me. It's right in the beginning. You said, and perhaps you sleep so much because you hate to be awake. Whatever it takes, as long as you can fast forward your days, or maybe you got that type of pain that has you contemplating on how to get away. And what I love most about that piece, John, is because I've been thinking so much about people who go through suicide or, take their life, mental health. There's been a lot of friends, family, public artists like Mac Miller, who just last week overdosed, or even Drew Stack. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a pastor that took his life, and
Yeah.
just the trauma that it causes. And I'm realizing that life is such a mental game,
Yeah.
and I even believe that a lot of people come to church just to try to keep their mind in the right space, you
Right.
know? And so I want to ask you, you've written so much and you have such a way with words, and I know you've probably been through a lot mentally, even with your previous experience that you said, brought you to God. If there's people watching that are just struggling in their mind, like what's your advice for that? How do people get out of a mental funk?
Yeah. I think the main thing I would say is you cannot think you're alone. You cannot for an instant think that you're the only one that's messed up. That's where people feel the most torment, is when they think they're the only one in their community going through what they're going through. What I've learned,
Mm,
I'm not that old. I have a lot to learn, but one thing I have learned
yeah.
being 25 years old is that you are not the only one going through what you're going through. And I say that
Mm,
because a lot of times, like, we feel shame, or we feel like, man, like, I literally want to take my own life. But I promise you, some of the strongest leaders who are talking up there have gone through suicidal thoughts. They've gone
yeah.
they're probably still, and you don't even know this, but they're probably still in the process of fighting suicidal thoughts. You don't,
Wow.
you don't even know about pastors. Like, pastors look so good. They smell,
Yeah.
they talk good, they do all this stuff, but you don't know
Yeah.
what's going on in their marriage. You don't, and I'm not
Mhm.
saying that to judge any one of your pastors. I'm just saying that,
Right.
listen, you going through a lot in your life, but I promise you, God's got you. Like, he understands what you're going through, and not only does God understand what you're going through, people around you are going through the same thing. Another thing I would say is this: if you're going through something that hard, if you're going through something that tormenting and that depressing, and like to the point of
Yeah.
suicidal thoughts, my advice is this: tell somebody, like, actually vocalize it.
Mm.
Everyone admires a person who is real. Everyone admires
Yeah.
that person who is the first one to say, hey, I struggle with this. Hey, I've
Yeah.
been thinking, like, I've had these suicidal thoughts and I can't get them out of my mind. I can't sleep at night. I need help.
Yeah.
And then everyone else
Yeah.
in the room is like disarmed. They're immediately like, wow, like, he spoke up, she spoke up. It's time to act.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you have a community of weak people who need Jesus, and we all get
Yeah.
stronger together. We all seek God together. I think the best thing to
That's
do is
wonderful.
confess, and also to
Yeah.
know that you're not the only one. I promise you. So,
Yeah. That's good, John. Because I mean, I'm realizing, man, this is real. This is real. This is affecting a lot of people.
yeah,
And it affects everyone, but in different levels, in
yeah,
different seasons, depending on what they're going through,
right.
and what traumatic thing is happening, or maybe they feel like they're under pressure and they can't get out, and the only way to escape it, as you say, is how to get away. You know what I mean? And so, no, I totally agree with you on that. And I think the other part too is just knowing what to do to keep your mind in the right spot. Like you say, community, vocalizing it. And
Community,
then, like I was telling a friend of mine, like sometimes I'll just tell my mind what to think, whether I got to put on a worship song to have my mind focus on that,
yeah.
or like record myself saying a verse or something and just listen to that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a proactive action to keep your mind in the right spot. So I think that's really good. Um, I want to wrap this up, but before I do, just want to ask you too, like, what advice would you give to other millennials who want to, maybe they're poets or maybe they're doing some type of other art? Like, what a piece of advice would you give to them who want to also make a difference in their communities?
Man, I would say this. First of all, realize that if you're an artist, if you're any kind of artist, or you have an artistic mentality, I would tell you
Mhm.
this. First of all, you have to know that not only is there a huge calling on your life, and there is about to be a huge demand for the arts. I promise you
Yeah.
this. I feel it in my bones. There's going to be a huge demand for the arts coming up soon. Our generation is tired of being preached to and being told what to
Mhm.
do, but what we love is realness, rawness, and realness and raw.
Yep.
It is expressed in its best form through the arts, I personally think. And also,
That's so
I
good.
this not only knowing that you have a huge calling on your life, but knowing this: because you're an artist, you will go through a lot of attack in your life. You'll
Mhm.
go through a lot of torment in your life, but that's why you need to hold on to Jesus more than most people. If you have an artistic mentality, if you love to create, if you love to do something, it's because you're a weapon. And
Yeah.
every single weapon of God goes under hard trials, under hard
Mhm.
temptations, under hard attack. But that's why get yourself around healthy community. Get yourself in the
Yeah.
get yourself around people you can be so real with and raw with, and your art is going to go so far. Another thing I'll say is this, and I always say this: as an artist, as a rapper, spoken word artist, as a speaker, whatever you do, as a dancer, your greatest practice in order to be great at that art is your quality time with Jesus. That's it.
Mhm.
Like, that's it. Your greatest practice is time with Jesus. I think people
Mhm.
think, "Oh, I'm gonna get better if I keep writing. I'm gonna get better if I keep if I do this for 10 hours." No, I think you get better when you spend time with Jesus. When you say,
Mhm.
"I'm gonna set time in the morning aside with just Jesus," and then before.
Yeah.
And here's one thing I'll say: I've seen so many. I've had grown men hug me crying and stuff because of a poem, and I know it came from the place of me spending time with Jesus, not me working
Mhm.
so hard to try
Yeah.
that. It came from me just knowing who He is,
Awesome.
and I think that's all I would say is, guys, like, spend time with God. I promise you, like,
Yeah.
every good thing comes from above. Like, every good and perfect gift, it really does come from Jesus. You cannot get good at anything that has to do with his kingdom on your own. So, yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah.
That's good. I'll snap to that, dude.
Come on. Yeah.
Hey, well, if people want to stay in touch with you and just follow you on your journey where you're performing and stuff, what's the best way to do that? I think you just started a Facebook fan page too, right?
Yes, it's Jon Romero spoken word poems on Facebook. I'm gonna have all my updates on there. My newest videos are going up there, and yeah, that's where you guys can check out everything that's coming up.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for your time, John. It's been amazing interviewing you. I believe it. I second what Alvin and all your fans are saying is there's big things ahead for you. I can feel it just talking to you,
Amen.
that you are connected with God and you believe in everything you say,
Amen.
and there's truth coming out of your mouth. So I know people are going to be set free, delivered, touched, changed, and it's a privilege to have the opportunity to interview you. And I look forward to staying in touch with you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you for the interview. It was honestly a joy, and you helped me even process a lot. So
Yeah, no problem.